Good to go, Shane?
We are good to go.
My audio appears to be okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, so sorry everybody for the late start. Today is Wednesday, June 5th at 6:30 p.m. Item one, I'll call the planning board to order. We have quorum. This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the provisions of the open meeting law pursuant to the governor's approval of a supplemental budget bill. Temporary provisions of the open meeting law have been extended to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate and alternative access to remote meetings. The language of this extension does not make any substantive changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding the remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. Members of the public are encouraged to participate remotely and shall address questions through the chair or the host this evening, who's Mr. O'Brien. The following members of the planning board are participating remotely this evening. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair, Mr. Stephen Geller, and Ms. MJ Spagone. During the meeting, all votes will be roll call. The following Bridgewater Town staff are also with us this evening. Mr. Robert Rulli, our Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Shane O'Brien, the Town Planner, Ms. Drishti Jain, the Assistant Town Planner, Mr. Greg Tansey, the Town Engineer, and Mr. Stephen Solari, the Building Commissioner. Everyone's mics are muted at this point. Board's mics will be unmuted through the whole meeting. As items appear on the agenda, the project's representatives' mics will be unmuted. Your project is a public hearing and lost public comment. We ask you to use the chat feature to ask your question by listing your name, your address, and your question. The chair or the host will recognize questions in order. You can also use the raising your hand feature in the participant menu and you'll be unmuted when the chair or the host recognizes you. Again, please state your name and your address before asking a question. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. Shane, I don't know if you want to explain to the applicants
Sure. Just to let everyone know in the room, because I know we have some applicants present. We currently only have a 3-person board right now out of a 5-member board, which would require all 3 members' votes to carry. We do not have the Mullen Rule active in town. So the quorum of the board is who would be deciding on your project. So we do have a couple continuances which are appropriate for the amount of quorum for the board. However, based on the grouping of the board right now, we are unable to hear the project at 0 Broad Street because a special permit would require 4 members of the 5-person board to vote in favor of this project. So we would unable to hear that project today, and that would be continued to the next meeting, which would be June 26, 2024. So we are leaving it up to any of the applicants here today in terms of their comfort to request a continuance to a later meeting where hopefully more board members would be present. But that being said, the 3 board members that we have today are able to vote on all these matters. But with the lack of Mullen Rule, we do not have the ability to accept additional board members at future hearings. So
Mr. O'Brien, I do see the Ellises are on that are proposing 0 Broad Street. We can certainly wait till we get to them on the agenda, and if we don't have a 4th added by then we can continue it. Could we, if they're willing to wait?
I would leave that up to them. But as currently, we would be unable to hear that project. So
Mr. McDonald may join. We don't know, but
well, yeah, we can go through the list. That's fine.
This is John Ellis on that 0 Broad Street. And how do we understand this, that you only have a 3-member quorum? And
yeah.
Does it require a 4, or can we continue with it with 3?
Through the chair.
It requires 4. We only have 3 right now. We could have a 4th by the time we get to you. It's up to you if you want to continue it now or wait and see what happens when we get to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll wait.
We just want you to be aware that if a fourth person doesn't sign on, we may need to continue you, that's all.
Yeah, we will
Uh,
have to continue. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll wait.
Okay,
We'll wait.
all right,
All right.
so, item, so I read that in, so I'll start with, item 2 on the agenda. We have preliminary subdivision plans, continued 884 South Street, map 75, lot 1. This is a 3-lot subdivision with waivers and residential C. This is continued from May 15th. Is the applicant with us this evening? Are we okay
Yeah.
with this, Shane?
Yeah, Eric Diaz is here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Eric Dias, for the applicant. Can I just confirm one thing, before we get started, if it's okay? I know Shane had mentioned that the town is not using the Mullen Rule. If I'm understanding correctly, that means that if we were to continue this tonight, if we were to give testimony tonight and not close and continue to the next meeting, we would only at that meeting have 3 voting eligible members of the board. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. So if we move forward tonight, we move forward with 3 and roll the dice on a unanimous vote, no matter what we do.
Correct. Without, yeah, if you don't reach that threshold, you'd have to, I guess, reapply.
Yes, or we can continue it and try to come back at the next meeting and hope that there's more board members available.
Sure thing.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, I think on behalf of the applicant, we'd respectfully request a continuance of this matter without testimony.
So do we have a motion to continue 884 South Street to the meeting on the 26th of June?
So moved.
By Mr. Geller, do we have a second?
Second,
By Ms. Pagan? Any discussion?
Pat?
Y-
Shane.
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, so we are holding a special meeting of the planning board that isn't on the current schedule for June 26, 2024. If that's appropriate for you, Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, I'd love a shot at that meeting if that's available. Yes.
Sure thing.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to move that to the 26th. Any discussion? Ms. Pagan?
no discussion from me, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to figure out what day that date is.
It is the Wednesday after Juneteenth.
So I'm asking for a vote, Ms. Pagan. Vote,
I'd say yes then.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
All right,
Mr.
thank you all.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yep, it happens. Thank you.
Item 3, these are public hearings. These are continued public hearings. All of these hearings are continued public hearings. The first item on the agenda. Actually, if it's okay, with the board members, we have 2 continuations. There may be people on here waiting for this before we go into these other public hearings. Are you okay if I take those out of order?
That's fine.
I have no issue with that, sir.
Yeah, they're all listed for 6:30, so. All right, so 0 Plymouth Street, map 24, lot 52. If anybody is here for that, we did receive a continuation request yesterday. Mr. O'Brien, correct?
That is correct. Mr. Drew Dyer, the owner of the property, had requested a continuance. They stated they're about 98% ready, but they didn't want to risk it presenting a piecemeal project to you guys. So they requested continuance to the June 26th meeting.
Okay, do we have space on that June 26th meeting?
Yes, we're gonna have to have space. I think it's appropriate considering.
So do we have a motion to continue 0 Plymouth Street to the June 26th meeting?
So
Motion
moved.
to continue?
By Mr. Geller, second by Ms. Pagan, is that correct?
Yes.
Any discussion on that? Take the roll. Ms. Pagan,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have 815 Bedford Street. Again, this is a continuation. A site plan review for a new commercial retail building as well as self-storage facilities and other site improvements. We did receive a letter from Silver Engineering and Associates, I believe requesting a continuance to our June 26th meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. Another project that they're still redesigning based on board comments, but they did request a continuance to the June 26th meeting.
And I'm one of the people, Shane, that wanted the June 26th meeting so we can keep things moving and get some things on, but we have some major hearings on that night. This is a big hearing, a new subdivision. Are we gonna be able, I don't wanna set us up for failure.
Well, I would say that I think it's appropriate for these items to be placed on the next meeting. I think for a lot of these projects to push it out for the 17th when they've requested the continuance to the 26th. I would say it's appropriate to put this item on the 26th. If there's new items that we can't get to on that meeting, I think we could continue them to the July 17th meeting, but I think we should at least give people the opportunity to present, or at least give everyone a proper time, whether it be a half hour, to discuss their project.
So we do have a request from Silver Engineering to continue this to June 26, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Mr. Geller,
Second,
second by Ms. Pagan. Any discussion? I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagan,
yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so I'll come back to 456 Broad Street. Map 62, lots 34 and 8. The proposed expansion of a parking count pursuant to section 10. Is the applicant with us this evening?
I do not see the applicant with us. So not sure what's going on with him. I did see the applicant on Monday, and I did notify the board of a potential the owner gave permission for a site visit. I know, albeit a short notice, on Tuesday for board members to view the property. But having discussed the property as well, I know that the cease and desist has not been rescinded yet for the Conservation Commission. So if the board feels appropriate, we could wait until that item goes before Conservation before hearing this again. But if the board feels appropriate moving this to the January 26th meeting or the July 17th meeting, both are appropriate, I would feel.
All right, so we do have permission now to do a site walk? I know you said Monday, we could do it Tuesday. Was that the only day we could do it? I was not around.
Well, that's the date that I last heard from the owner, that Tuesday worked out. But I could re-ask and see if a different date further out works for the board members. So
I'm open to either date, the 26th or the 17th. I just think if we're gonna put too much on there, we're gonna be in trouble. But there's somebody.
When are they meeting? When are they meeting with conservation?
They're not, I mean, conservation will consider rescinding the cease and desist on next Thursday, the 13th.
if the board would like, we could push it out for the 17th, which would give the applicant more time, I guess, to clean up their property.
And see if we can get a date for a site walk. I mean, I couldn't do it. I was out of town Tuesday, and I know we get that email late Monday or whatever it was, I couldn't make it work.
Yeah, and considering the applicant didn't request a continuance, I would say that we should give the courtesy to those who have requested it rather than those who no-showed.
Okay. So do we have a motion to continue this to July 17th?
Motion to continue?
Second.
By Ms. Pagan, second by Mr. Geller. Any discussion? I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagan,
Yes.
Mr. Geller.
Yes.
Okay.
You're a yes, Pat?
Oh, I'm a yes. I apologize.
Okay, it's okay.
All right, so now we come back to the last public hearing continuation that we have, 0 Broad Street. It's been about 30 minutes since we started. Mr. Ellis, we can continue to kick it and come back to that later on if you want, or we can continue it at this point. It's up to you.
I think we should continue if you can for us.
We'll wait.
We will wait.
Thank you for your patience.
Well, things
I
happen.
apo- I apologize about that. We didn't know that we wouldn't have enough people tonight, so.
Well, thank you, but things do happen. We just have to deal with it.
All right, so 0 Broad Street, map 4, lot 22, this is a special permit under section 10.5 and table of uses A2 to construct a duplex in a residential D zone. Continued from the May 15th meeting. And it's a special permit. We still don't have 4, so do we have a motion to continue this to 6/26? I think I'm gonna be sick on the 26th.
I think Mr. Ellis said he was happy to wait, continue to wait.
Right, correct.
You want to go beyond the 26th?
No, he's happy to
No,
wait
he-
tonight to see if somebody shows up.
Oh, you're happy to wait. You meant, you want to stay on the meeting, Mr. Ellis?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Nobody made a motion, correct? Right?
No, I think, yeah, you think you considered a motion. I don't think that anything was made.
All right, good.
No
I'm sorry.
motion was made.
All right, item 4, public hearings new.
Hmm.
I know you sent me the public hearing notice, Mr. O'Brien. I didn't print them off. Could you pull that up, please?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
I'll open the public hearing for 21 Park Terrace. This is map 34, lot 269. This is under section 3 uses, site plan review, section 10.7, to convert a residence into an educational use. There was a public hearing notice published in the Enterprise. We did receive the green cards, Mr. O'Brien.
That is correct.
There was a public hearing notice placed in the Enterprise on the Bridgewater page on Wednesday, stating on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. The Bridgewater Planning Board will be conducting a public hearing via Zoom on an application by Bridgewater State University Foundation for a site plan approval for section 3 uses, section 10.7 Bridgewater zoning ordinance to convert a residential into a residential use of land, or residential into use of land for educational purposes, site improvements on 0.29 acres located at 21 Park Terrace, Bridgewater, Mass. Assessors map 34, lot 269. The plans were prepared by Silver Engineering Associates and are on file with the Office of the Town Clerk and the CED office and website. All interested persons are encouraged to attend the Bridgewater Planning Board. This was advertised on 5/22/24 and 5/29/24 on the Bridgewater page. So we have opened the public hearing, read the notice, we have the green cards, and I'll turn it over to the applicant for their presentation.
Pat,
Yeah.
can I just make a comment to the applicant? If you weren't here earlier, we do have only a 3-member board today, and we do not utilize the Mullen rule here in the town of Bridgewater. We just want to make sure that you as an applicant know that if you were to continue this project, or if you were to, the hearing to open up and you to provide some discussion, you are able to only utilize the 3 members that are here. Just want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this presentation.
I feel comfortable with this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, floor is yours.
Well, so good. I'll just so the public's benefit, if there are any public here, we'll have the applicant make their presentation. The board will then ask questions, and then we'll open it up for public comment. So, Ms. Baptiste, go ahead.
All right, let me make sure I got the screen right in a moment. Probably start at the beginning. Good evening, Rebecca from Silver Engineering for the proposed site plan in front of you for the conversion of a single-family residence in kind of rough shape to a educational with accessory educational purposes. Bridgewater State University Foundation would like to convert this existing dwelling into a building that would support the university in its endeavors. We are gonna scroll through this lovely little booklet of wonder until I get to the page I want. Some of the information included in your packet was Dennis Swartz architectural renderings of how they plan to improve the inside of the building. Some of beautiful pictures. The garage, let me get to our site plan. We'll go back to the landscape. Okay, so we have a site plan, we show the building, we show some of the demolition that will take place. We're gonna remove some porches, some brick walkways, some asphalt driveway in order to provide adequate access with walkways, handicap accessibility ramps, porch replacements, more accessibility. We're going to reuse the garage as an accessory building to the educational. We're going to provide one handicap that would actually be moved from this spot shown to 21 Park Terrace over here, 25 Park Terrace. I'm so sorry about that. We're proposing to offset the new impervious with some roof recharge. I know the town engineer had a comment on impervious area proposed and existing. We had a little note up here. It can be reviewed at some point in time. So part of the applicant's design process was to also get a landscape architect. And so Melissa Desjardins put together her concept of what was going on. And one of the recommendations she came up with was to have a more open patio area where we had the handicap space. And so one of the changes to the plan set that we're proposing in the final plan set would be to relocate the handicap again to the north, adjacent to this property and within reason to this concrete handicap accessibility. Parking for this location is shared throughout all of the university, so there wasn't a lot of parking to be shown because it's supporting the university's all their lovely handicap 636 spaces. So we didn't worry too much about providing individualized handicap parking. Scrolling, we showed some fancy lighting that is consistent with how the university likes to look at things. Utilities are existing, municipal, water, sewer. Some of them will be improved to come up to date with the E1. Town engineer comments were very straightforward. Most of them can be addressed in a final condition set. I propose here what the erosion control area might look like. The water connection, until I'm told otherwise by the contractor or the town for that matter, would just come across here. I think I made notes on this letter, just to make sure I got it all for you. The fence that was questioned will be removed entirely. The notes on that, and the test pit that Larry will be performing. He's done a few in the area, but we'll just do one in the area of the roof recharge to make sure everything is good to go. It's pretty straightforward, I hope, in the idea that we are just converting this use into a supporting educational with your bylaw that Shane was so kind to write out here somewhere, 10.7.
Oh, yeah, 10-7.
Right? Okay, so I don't think I have much more to talk about. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to stop scrolling through all these screens and just give you something to look at. How about this one? It's not colored, but it looks nice.
Are there any board questions for the applicant?
No, I don't have anything at this time right now, Pat.
Ms. Pagano?
Apologies, again, technical issues. I just got back on my computer. I don't have any questions at this time.
Did you see enough of the presentation? If you're comfortable?
I had difficulty hearing the presenter, but as far as I can tell, this seems pretty straightforward. I have a concern, but it's more of a different concern that really wouldn't be germane to this board. It's more of a town tax rolls, property ownership type of thing. So it's not really, again, not germane. I think the project is with good merit. I think the proposal is well laid out. Like I said, I did have some difficulty hearing the presenter, but from what I can tell, the gist of it is it seems pretty straightforward that they're going to convert this single family home into a support building and or resource for the university to use for students. And am I correct? And also staff as well?
Yeah, through the chair. That's correct. I think I can kind of provide an overview too, because this is this is, as noted in my memo, our first utilization of the section 3 site plan review.
Mhm.
I know that there was something similar with the foundation approving a project on Summer Street, but that was under 10, whatever site plan review section was before.
Yeah.
But with the spelling out of what section 10.7 is, for this change in use, as long as the board's jurisdiction on this is whether the use qualifies for protection under 40A section 3, which, from all indications it does, as well as any reasonable regulations concerning bulk, height, yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, and building coverage, if they should be imposed on the use. And from all indications, they're not creating a new addition to anything. It's all existing on site. The accessory building is being utilized as an accessory to the educational use that's being utilized in the single family dwelling. So based on the criteria of chapter 40A, section 3 and section 10.7 of our site plan review, I see no issues with the proposal. I did provide some draft site plan conditions that are typical for projects, but it's essentially a renovation project for a building that desperately needs it.
Knowing that that's a house that's actually kind of near another property that BSU does own, I think, I want to say it's their political science department. It's a house that used to be a private residence, but it was then converted into, I believe, the Masters of Public Administration and Political Science Department at that time. And then there's another house that's on the other side, I think, of Summer Street, that was also converted. It's a similar project with a similar goal, with a similar means. As far as I'm concerned, there's really no real issue outside of any recommendations or suggestions that the department has to make sure everything is whole and complete within the law. Those are all my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Pagan. All right, if there are no other board comments, I will open it up for public comment at this point. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this project?
Do not see anyone in the chat, Pat, nor do I see any virtual hands raised regarding this project. As stated earlier, we did receive green cards for this project, so people were properly notified of this meeting.
Okay, and so just coming back to the board stuff, Mr. O'Brien, so you did provide an analysis of the project, and you did provide us with draft site plan conditions. I see, other than our normal things, the only things that you really added were if a dumpster is to be added, it be screened, and that it maintain compliance with the section 3 uses. And you did provide that to us as part of your memo. Is there anything else you feel that we should add based on this discussion?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think the applicant was aware of our memo comments, and I think addressed them as part of their presentation.
Okay, so if there's no other staff or board comments, a motion to close the public hearing
Motion?
by Ms. Pagano,
Second.
second by Mr. Geller. Any discussion? All right, so I'll take the roll to close the public hearing. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Ms. Pagano,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so do we have a, as part of our deliberation, we have a draft decision letter from Mr. O'Brien containing 18 conditions, Mr. O'Brien?
That is correct.
Is there anything that we would like to discuss in that draft memo or add to that draft memo?
I'm good.
If there is not, is there a motion on the project either to approve it tonight?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second for discussion, Mr. Geller, is that correct?
Yep.
And just for discussion, motion to approve with the proposed decision letter that Mr. O'Brien had, which was our standard conditions minus a couple that we mentioned, correct?
Yep, and I would say based on the findings in fact of 10-7 and what was been presented through this meeting, as well as other communication items from the applicant.
Are we good with that, Mr. Geller? Ms. Pagano?
I am.
Okay, so based on that, based on the decision letter, do we have a motion and a second to approve? I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagano?
Yes.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night.
One thing that didn't get pushed, right?
Nope.
Okay. So again, I'll open the public hearing. We have a new public hearing for 1278 Bedford Street. This is map 112, lot 10. This is a minor site plan review, section 10.6, for a change of use from a garage / maintenance building to a retail store for Bobcat. Mr. O'Brien, do you have the public hearing notice?
Yeah, let me pull it up quickly. Apologies. There it is.
So the public hearing notice, Bridgewater Planning Board, public hearing notice on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. The Bridgewater Planning Board will be conducting a public hearing via Zoom on an application by Bobcat of New Hampshire for a site plan approval, section 10.6 of the Bridgewater zoning ordinance, to change in use from a garage maintenance building to a retail store for Bobcat of New Hampshire. Site work includes restriping an existing parking lot to accommodate for interior renovation being done to an existing garage on 3.72 acres. Located at 1278 Bedford Street, Bridgewater, Mass. Assessors map 112, lot 10. The plans were prepared by PMP Consulting, Inc. and are on file at the town clerk and the CED office and website. All interested persons are encouraged to attend the Bridgewater Planning Board. This was advertised on 5/22 and 5/29 in the Enterprise on the Bridgewater page. I imagine, am I incorrect when I say the Enterprise? It says the Bridgewater page, Mr. O'Brien, it's in the Enterprise, correct?
It is in the Brockton Enterprise, correct?
And just to the applicant, we do have a limited board this evening. We only have 3 members. So you can move forward with 3 members. We do, Mr. O'Brien mentioned we don't have the Mullen rule. So all 3 of us would have to be present if this gets continued. All 3 of us would have to vote in favor of it for it to be approved. Would you like to still move forward with that, or would you like to continue, sir?
We would like to continue.
So we have a request to continue 1278 Bedford Street.
I'm sorry, I'd like to go forward tonight. I'm sorry. I'm gonna continue
Okay.
with what we're doing tonight. Wrong term, sorry, confusing. I confused myself.
It's okay.
Okay, so, sir, if you'd like to make an application, and then we'll open up to the board for questions and then to the public for comment. So, Mr. Jacobs, go ahead.
Good evening. Ed Jacobs, PMP Consulting, and with me tonight I have Pete Tatone. He's the COO for Bobcat of New Hampshire, Bobcat of Cape Cod, and Bobcat of South Shore. And I also have with me our site designer, Samantha Cripps, who will be sharing her screen and showing us the site plan as well as the architectural plans if needed. So as mentioned, this is a minor site plan review for change in use from a garage, an existing garage maintenance building that's on site. Sammy, you want to bring up the plan if you could? There we go. Okay, so this is an existing site. It was Enos Landscaping for years, and the site has basically remained unchanged since 2005. New Heights Construction, New Heights Builders of Mass is the current owner and runs their operation out of there currently. The proposal is to have a leased area, the dark black dashed line that's Sammy's outlining right now is the lease area. So everything inside of that leased area and to the bottom right of the drawing will remain for New Heights, the building New Heights 1278, which is currently their office, and there's a couple of apartments upstairs, legal apartments upstairs. Everything else on the site to the left and to the rear will be leased to Bobcat. And that would include that 3,500 square foot garage maintenance building that is to be renovated to fit Bobcat's new store, which would be a retail parts store and maintenance store, parts store. It's a 3.75 acre parcel, and we have received a negative determination from the Conservation Commission. So we're all set through Concom. We've received the letter from Town Engineer Greg Tansey, and we have addressed all those comments. And we also received the Community and Economic Development Division's report and have addressed those comments as well. So the only thing we're really doing here besides retrofitting the inside of the building is to do a little bit of restriping on the bottom right hand of the parking lot for the residential use over there and Mark's business, Mark Lucas, owner of New Heights Builders, and do some restriping of the original parking lot. We've added a couple of handicap parking spaces, one of them is van accessible, and currently there are two entrances on the site, entrances and egresses. The one that Sammy's pointing at right now would be, yep, that one, Sammy. That would be Bobcat's entrance and exit. That is paved, and the rest of the site that Bobcat will be occupying is pretty much gravelled area, process area. The only change to that would be Mark Lucas, owner of New Heights, has taken their equipment and moved it to another site, and it's ready to go for Bobcat to move in, and they'll probably just do a little bit of regrading of the process, you know, because it's kind of old and weathered, and just kind of spread it around a little bit, fill in some potholes, take down some ridges, and pretty much use it as is. We are on existing town water, and we have a raised septic system right in the center on the front there. Yeah, right there. We were requested by the letters, especially from the noting the one from the economic development, to show some landscape that would remain out front. So out front of the, where Sammy's pointing now, there are some there is some shrubbery along there, spaced evenly along the front of that, and where Bobcat would be leasing, and there's a chain link fence there. And then the area in front of the paved parking lot, there's some mulch and some low shrubs like azaleas and things of that nature that will remain. We're also asked to show a storage equipment area, and we have that up in the upper left. Sammy, can you scroll down a little bit so we can see the snow removal area? We have the snow removal area out in the back, and we have the screen dumpster just in front of that. And I think that's basically describes what is going on with, you know, the proposed changes to the site, which are very minor. We could show you the architect's plans if you wanted to see an existing, what it looks like existing and what it's going to look like proposed from the front, if that's something the board would like to see. Can we throw that up to Sammy, the architectural plan?
That'd be great.
There we go. So the bottom one is what it looks like now, a rendering, obviously, of what it looks like now. Two man doors on the left and a 14-foot garage door on the front. What they'll be doing is closing in that garage door, glassing that entrance in, making it look better, getting rid of one of the man doors, keeping the man door over to the left, adding a window over there, and then refurbishing the outside with new coats of paint. and signage and lighting on top of the sign that will also be utilized as site lighting for the front. Downward facing lights. And I think that's pretty much it. I'll take any questions that you may have.
So now I know how long I've been on the planning board, because this was the first site plan that I ever sat in on.
But way back when?
When Mr. Enos.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and I guess I'm confused. So I remember, and I'm looking at the decision letter from 2012, the site plan that we approved. And it was more for the, in front of the building, in front of that mixed use building being almost allowing for auto sales. And I don't think we ever did a change of use to allow it to the New Heights, but that's irrelevant at this point, I guess. But I guess my question is what was that building? Was that garage more used as like an accessory building? It always it seemed like New Heights operated out of the office, and this was for like storage. Is that correct?
I think it was more for storage of his equipment and repairs of the equipment.
And so now we're changing the use from that storage and whatnot to retail, correct? That's the proposal.
Correct. There'll be retail, there'll be a small office area on the first floor, additional offices on the second floor. And then in the back, there'll be the service shop, repairs, things of that nature, a parts counter on the first floor out front.
So are there oil water separators in the building and outside the building, if there's gonna be hydraulics and oil and that thing, type of
Correct, that is already in place.
that is in place currently?
Pardon me?
That is currently in place, right?
Yes, that's all in place. Yep.
What does the storage look like outside? How much storage is gonna be outside? Just in that one area and everything else will be open, or will they be?
Yes, the storage will be where Sammy's pointing to right now. That's the anticipated storage area. And then the inside will be more for servicing the equipment, that people bring in, rentals, things of that nature.
When you say storage, what are you storing in that area?
Outside would be, equipment like Bobcat has, I can actually, Pete, do you want to chime in on that? Pete
So
DeTone?
is that a fenced area?
Yeah, the whole site is fenced in, yes.
But that equipment storage area, how is that gonna be identified? Is that fenced or?
No, I don't believe so, no.
And then when you say retail, how many customers do you anticipate daily roughly? Whether it be repairs or whether it be sales?
Yeah, again, I will let Pete chime in on that.
Yeah, good evening. I would, any given, it fluctuates, but I would say maybe 20 to 30 customers on a given day.
Hi, Pete, could you introduce yourself to the board?
Yeah. Yes, I'm Pete DeTone. I'm the COO of Bobcat of New Hampshire, Bobcat of Cape Cod, and Bobcat of South Shore.
Well, I guess my concern, and because I've always viewed this as like an accessory building to the other office, so or for the business, like storage and things. I guess so going to a retail use, I'm glad to see it's getting cleaned up. I'm glad, that site's, I went by it today, the whole site's kind of a mess. But I'm concerned about the parking area and the tandem parking and the lack of pavement, so to speak. I don't think we've ever approved a retail on site with a gravel parking area, especially for the customers. I mean, I can see it for storage and things of that nature, but in the winter months, is that something we want to see in town, Mr. O'Brien or Mr. Tansey? Is that allowed? I mean, I've never seen it. I mean, right now it's more of a storage use that's being described for the existing business, and now we're going to a retail store.
Are you suggesting that, because I know that, I guess based on your comment, those 3 parking spaces all the way to the northern part of the parking lot, or it looks the most west on this plan,
Yes.
are you suggesting that they just go up a bit and then pave the rest of that area that's noted as gravel area?
Well, I'm suggesting they should pave whatever is utilized by the customer base, right?
Sure.
Well,
I mean-
there is adequate parking for customers out front on the leased area out front of the 1278. There's 9 spaces there. There's 3 spaces that are paved. All the areas that are shaded are paved now. So the 3 parking spaces that Shane just brought up are paved. The 4 across from the building to be renovated are paved. 9 spaces in front of Mark's building that would be part of the Bobcat lease are paved. And then the 2 handicap spaces and the 2 spaces beside that are on a concrete pad.
So what is that? You show a dark gray area that I'm assuming that's pavement, and then you show an area that's speckled white. Is that concrete?
That's concrete pad around the building, yes, at grade.
So if this building is more storage and like an accessory use to the existing office there.
You mean now?
Yeah, well, now, and then down the street, we're telling people they can't have more than 1 principal use per lot. How is retail? How are we handling that, Mr. Solari, from a zoning point?
I'm sorry, Pat, would you mind saying that again?
Yeah, so this building is somewhat accessory. It's storage and maintenance of the equipment that's used for out of the office then. So now we're changing the use to retail. Is this considered another principal use on a site?
Well, I'll be honest with you, with this site, I've really had not much to do with this site. I know that the construction company's there with the apartments above. I know Enos was there at one time. I know that they subletted supposedly the building next door. But I will be honest, a lot of my records of this property are vague on what was allowed and wasn't allowed in the past. So based on our bylaws, I guess if it's 2 separate uses, then again, with the new bylaws that are supposedly in place, that's a good question.
I mean, I want to see it cleaned up, and I just want to be consistent. I mean,
That's why I find the bylaw that we have very hard in the town for commercial uses and business uses, because I mean, you have a contractor's yard on one side, and then you have basically a contractor sales going next door to it, because they do repair and replace, but they also do sell. So to me, it's a fine line as far as the way our bylaws are written, if you want my personal opinion.
Well, I mean, if you look back at the 2012 decision, I mean, I think New Heights went in there. They should have come to us for a change of use, right? Because it appears that the use that was approved.
And they've been there since I've been before I became the inspector, that whole area.
But it appears in 2012 the use that was approved was sales, storage of boats, campers, and trailers, and they were allowing up to 43 vehicles on the site. So it says the site currently contains the following uses: a non-conforming 2-family, landscape business and office, retail sales, propane sales, and the processing of firewood. The proposed site plan was seeking an auto repair business and a Class 2 sales license with a total of 43 sales spaces. So I just want to be consistent. So it already was approved for retail sales. So would that cover us on this, Mr. Solari?
Again, Pat, I don't have that decision in front of me and from 2012, so I don't have any information on it.
I would say that, Pat, I think we could make that determination as part of our findings. That this is kind of an extension on that 2012 decision.
I'd like to get it cleaned up. I mean, I went by it today and I visited the site. It's a mess. I mean, if you read through the decision, like a lot of it is, probably half of it's being violated now. So it'd be nice to get the site cleaned up.
Yeah, and I will say that Bobcat, if you look at some of their other sites that Mr. Tatone is running out of New Hampshire and Cape Cod, you know, they're really, he keeps them nice, he keeps them clean. It's gonna be a huge upgrade for that site.
So I guess back to my initial comment, my only concern, and I'll stop talking with the other members talk, is just safety wise. I mean, I feel that the front of that store, I mean, there should be, I have a hard time. I have a hard time being okay with the gravel, you know, you basically just park them where the car, you paving where the cars are parking and nothing else. I mean, if Mr. Tansey and Mr. O'Brien and the other board members can convince me that's a good idea, then, I mean, that I'll consider it, but it just doesn't seem consistent with anything that we've passed.
I would say, Mr. Chair, I think you have a fair point in terms of if you were looking to fill the gaps in terms of the gravel area that's noted for pavement, from the 3 parking spaces up to the building, and then filling in that gap of what's already been paved. I would say that the entirety of the site being paved is a little bit much, but I would say to the extent.
I'm not saying that at all. I don't think we want the whole, I'm just saying that you pull in to the right, you have pavement, then you're on gravel, then you have parking spaces that are paved. It just seems like that should be, that whole customer parking area for safety, for plowing, for, you know, a safe service in the winter for pedestrians to walk, that should all be paved. You know, if there's drainage needed for that area, drainage to make sure water's taken out of there and doesn't freeze over. And it just doesn't seem like a very good design the way it's presented. That's all.
Well, I guess we could suggest to the applicant if they're open to the idea of providing updated pavement from the areas that I've mentioned. You know, those 3 parking spaces to go up to where the building is, to where the handicap is, and around the concrete back out to Bedford Street. I think that would be an appropriate measure to fix that issue.
Yeah. I will just say that this isn't how we designed the existing, you know, the shaded area. That's all existing pavement. It's not that we designed it this way. That's actually what is out there right now. And the areas in front of the building that is not paved is labeled gravel area, but it's more like a millings. It's more like that dense process. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, the people that are going to be coming to the store are contractors. They're going to be coming in with their trailers. They're going to be dropping off equipment, you know, and picking up equipment and, you know, things of that nature. It's not, you know, the typical retail where you're going to be going into a convenience store or anything like that. This is, you know, more contractors will be coming in and grabbing rental equipment and pulling it out and things of that nature.
So, Mr. O'Brien, do we have an as-built on, because in 2012, they talked about recharge systems. Mr. Jacobs, are you familiar with any drainage systems?
Yeah, it's all on site and it's all functional.
That is.
Yep.
Is that shown on the plan anyway here?
It is, yeah. So coming out of the Sammy, go right behind the paved area. There's a swale that runs up the right side of the property in between the 25-foot no touch. Let's go to the right. Yeah, so you can see the roof drains going in from the building over to a swale over here to the right. Yep, right in there. And that goes into the detention basin. Follow it up, Sammy. Yep, that's a detention basin right there. And then the rest of that property sheet flows back into a riprap swale in the back. Yep, right along there. So all the drainage is existing and in place and in good shape. And it's functional. We're not really changing anything as far as impervious area at all. The building stays the same. The millings and gravel stay the same and the pavement stays the same. And it's, you know, it was designed for this use. It's looked exactly the same since the early 2000s when that drainage was designed. I believe it was 2005.
Okay. What, Mr. Geller, Ms. Pagon?
So Mr. Chair, I almost agree with you with the adding of some pavement in the front for curb appeal. As far as I know it's contractors and everything else, but your loading area that you're proposing for the store is in the back. I mean, we're talking about a nice business and then it could be people coming in, people are gonna be parking and walking across and looking at new equipment or buying equipment or renting the equipment, but all that stuff that you talked about as far as, picking up and dropping off, that's all done out back. And then where your handicap parking spots are now is actually concrete with a small little piece of existing asphalt.
The spaces out front, the two handicapped and that, yes.
So that's existing like that. So they did that just so the handicap would not have to get out and ride on any gravel.
Correct.
Which your handicap space on this is shown exactly right up against the building. So if you're parked in that second handicap spot and you're in a wheelchair, you're basically coming out and rolling yourself on the gravel area for the most part.
Agreed.
But I would agree that it'd be nice to have this place cleaned up. I have no issues with what they're doing to the building. I think it's fine. Do they plan on displaying anything along Route 18 and 28 in any of those parking spaces, I'm assuming?
I don't know the answer. Pete, are you planning on showing any equipment out front there? Displaying any equipment out front?
No, on the side. Next to the storage area is where we plan on staging our equipment.
Okay,
Where is that on the plan?
right where the mouse is now.
Yep, right there.
Cursor.
So the storage area is also the display area, is that correct?
Correct.
And then just to Mr. Geller's point, because I didn't pick that up, so you have pavement, then you have gravel, then is that strip of pavement that's shown along the side of the building, the 70-foot side of the building, is that already paved now?
Yes, everything that's shaded is existing pavement, correct?
And then the loading zone is not paved?
Correct. There's a gravel apron in the back of the building that's about 5 feet wide.
I mean, wouldn't it make sense to basically pave most of that area in what's shown as gravel in the front? And then do a strip so you could drive around to the back? Like a driveway around the building?
Well, Mr. Tatone has texted me that, if we pave any areas outside where the storage area is and going out to the back of the building, he's saying that his machines will basically tear up the pavement. They've got excavators, they gotta move around and, things of that nature, so.
So I don't think anybody's talking, and maybe, I don't think anybody's talking about this, the storage area or anything of that. I think we're just talking about what's really,
Are we talking about this area? I'm showing my screen. Are we talking about this area, Pat?
That's what I pictured, Shane.
Okay.
As far as that, that would give so much a nicer curb appeal to the building and the business itself. And I get it all, the gravel area in the back, I think it's fine because, bobcats, cranes, the tracks will tear up any type of, asphalt that's there.
Correct.
But they're not gonna be loading and offloading right in front of the store,
No,
where the public pulls in and goes, wow, this is nice. Well, the contractor pulls in. You know, they're gonna say, hi, I'm here to drop this off, and they're gonna tell you to pull around back.
hmm
I mean, I think the main thing is safety. I mean, safety in the winter, safety in the, the rainy months, the handicap safety, and just the consistency of the surface. It's, it's gonna be a retail place that's visited quite frequently, and I don't think we've ever approved a retail site that, other than a seasonal site, so to speak, that had a gravel parking lot. For the customers anyway. Mr. Geller, so you did bring up a good point of the loading area. You're saying that the loading area should also be paved?
No, because that's gonna get torn up. That'll get torn up with tracks and turning and everything else. I'm thinking more of the curb appeal, what you're gonna see from Bedford Street, or if you're driving in, and like you said, I know it's millings, it's millings now, but over time, you get puddling and freezing and thawing and everything else. I just, for as you said, safety reasons, I mean, almost the way, Mr. O'Brien colored where I think should be paved is what I'd be looking to do. And then the rest of the area, they're gonna level off everything because there's high spots, low spots, puddling now. And then I guess I would take by word that, they keep their properties pretty clean, so I'm sure they're gonna keep that pretty level and clean all the time.
So just a question about, you mentioned New Heights is gonna operate out of the office, so prior to this, New Heights had storage of tractor trailers and things of that nature. Those will not be on site anymore?
No, all that equipment will be removed. You started to move it already to another site in a different town, and all of that will be gone.
So just because we're looking at a site plan, right, and a change, basically we're looking at the site plan for the whole thing, but a change of use for the section of it, so what is gonna remain in that lower floor of that mixed-use building? Will that be just office space?
Office space, and there's the 2 apartments up front, I mean, up top, so it would just be parking associated with that, with those uses.
But, so that'll be office space with no outside storage, correct?
Correct.
Because we had mentioned, I went down there today, it says that, boats and trailers and things like that shouldn't be stored out front unless they were for sale under the permit. And those things are there, those will be removed as well?
Yes.
Brian, Mr. Tansey, just from an engineering standpoint, do you agree with the additional pavement, or?
I do. I think it'll be a safety and an aesthetic value to the site. I did notice that there are some tandem parking spaces located out front, and those are existing parking spaces. But if I recall correctly, the initial site plan didn't show tandem parking there, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly. My question was,
That's one of my questions, and that's why, so it appears that those were sales spots for vehicles or boats in the prior site plan permit. But I think if they're gonna be customer parking spots, they shouldn't be tandem, and those ones closest to Route 18 should be removed, or the ones behind it should be removed.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're both saying. We are over the parking count required by 14 spaces, so we have no problem just turning that into 4 spaces when we restripe it. And we'll redo the chart on the plan to reflect that.
And the entire site is gonna be restriped, not just the parking spaces for your business, it'll be restricted.
Yeah, that is correct.
And we had mentioned in a prior site plan that the residential parking would be identified, all that will be identified, is that correct?
Yes,
What's for Bobcat, what's for the office, and what's for the residential?
correct. Yep.
By adding that additional pavement, Mr. Kennedy, does that trip any drainage issues?
As long as it's, the grade is consistent, as long as it doesn't create a low point between the parking and the front door, I don't see it being that big of an issue. The existing surface is a dense packed millings of pavement, and that material is almost as impervious as pavement. So from a runoff standpoint, yeah, and because the area of pavement is relatively small, I don't see there being any real difference in runoff quantities. It just has to be graded such that you don't create a low point within the new paved area or just along the edge of it. As long as you can maintain the existing grade and make sure that the runoff disperses as it's doing currently, you shouldn't see a problem.
Are there existing structures that are taking that stormwater now on this site?
Are
No,
there
it's- I'm sorry, go ahead, Craig.
So are there,
I'm
I mean, I know there's some drainage to the right of the building, but are there existing structures within this parking lot taking the stormwater now, or is it just running off?
It's just running off right now. It runs off in an overland fashion, a sheet flow. I didn't see any issues with erosion when I was out there. That's somewhat of a conservation issue, but I didn't really see a stormwater issue when I was out there.
Any other board or staff questions?
Pete Tone has his hand up. I think he wants to make a comment.
Sure, Mr. Tom.
No, I'm sorry, that was an error.
Oh, sorry, Pete.
All right, yeah, so this is a public hearing, so I will, if there's no other board comments, Mr. Geller, did you have anything else to add on Ms. Pagon?
I think, Mr. Chairman, I echo the sentiments of Mr. Geller and the opinion that there should be at least some improvement to the pavement in the front of the lot, just because of safety concerns, and also ultimately, I mean, those 4 spaces that are there right now basically end up being, my apologies. Getting back to my train of thought, the fact that those 4 spaces are there, but they're sort of like an island unto themselves in the middle of a gravel area. I think having a fully paved lot in that portion would be a lot safer, especially since those are handicap spaces. I'd like to make sure that, you know, that area remains compliant with the ADA, not knowing what type of customer base would be, you know, visiting that site. That is more of the customer facing area. You want to, from a liability standpoint, be safer. So paving it is definitely a great idea, and that's something I support. And that's really the only thing I saw being an issue. So as long as that's taken care of, I have no issues other than that.
All right, so being a public hearing, I'll open it up for public comment at this point. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this project?
I don't see any hands raised, Pat, nor do I see anyone in the chat.
Okay. All right, so how do we want to handle this? Do we want to consider having the plans updated to reflect the discussion and try to finalize it on the 26th, or what are your thoughts, Mr. O'Brien?
I'm to be completely honest, Pat, I would say that based on what I've heard and kind of what I showed on the screen, if we can make it a condition of approval that area is paved and that those stacked parking is only reduced to 4 parking spaces, I think we're at a point where I feel like we can make a approval conditioned on some updates prior to endorsement, if that feels appropriate to the board. I did provide some draft comments as part of the decision that I did provide to the applicant, as well as I provided to the board. So I would just state that those other conditions be provided at the end of those conditions already provided to the board. But I'll leave it up to you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we don't storage every, I mean, I think that the site, they're moving stuff off the site, that site was a mess. They had boats out front, and tractor trailers running in and out. If you read the decision letter from 2012, that was not the intent. Those things weren't supposed to be stored there. They came to us for a site plan actually to clean up the site. And it never really seemed to get cleaned up. It seemed to actually get worse. So I'm okay with that, Mr. O'Brien, if the other members are, but I think the decision letter also needs to reflect that storage is done in the storage areas in front of the existing building that's always striped. Things like boats and trailers that aren't part of the office use are removed as per the 2012 decision. And the site needs to be cleaned up, so.
Sure. Yeah, if anybody on the board would like to make that as a condition, or if you would like to suggest it as part of a condition as well.
So
Any other members' feedback about how we want to proceed? Do we want to consider continuing it or just moving forward as Mr. O'Brien recommended? I'm open for discussion.
I think I'm okay moving it forward as Mr. O'Brien recommended. I think I'd want to see, I'm sure they're going to be putting some car stops in the handicap spaces so they don't hit the buildings. If they're putting any bollards in. If they are gonna repave that, I would recommend taking out that small piece of pavement at the end of the concrete and making it one giant pour versus another seam around, and just make it really neat and clean.
Got it. Yep.
Can you go back to that handicap drawing for a minute? The handicap spot. Mr. Geller made a good point. So if you're in that second spot, I mean, you don't want to have to come out to the parking lot with your wheelchair, correct? You want to be able to access the building from your car and not have to go into the drive aisle. Isn't that how you want it designed? Mr. Tansey? I mean, if you have a wheelchair, you shouldn't have to go into the drive aisle, correct? You're on mute, Mr. Tansey.
Oh, Greg, you're muted.
So I guess my question is, if Mr. Geller brought up a good point. If you're in that second handicap spot, so the one furthest from the proposed use building, you get out of. So is that? And I don't know. Is it normal for you to have to come out to the proposed, or aren't those spots typically pulled off the building, and you have a sidewalk or something that you access and go up into for ADA compliance?
Yes, what you want to do is maintain an accessible route from all those, the second accessible space to the front door. And a tire stop will prevent the vehicle from pulling completely up to the front of the parking space. Thus, it'll open up a 3-foot access way from that second accessible spot to the front door. And that way, an individual does not have to go out behind the vehicles into a traveled way and go around and then into the front door. So I think that tire stops placed on those accessible spots would go a long way to freeing up access to the front door.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is if I'm parked in that second spot, I get out of my car, right?
Right.
So is that compliant the way it's designed? I mean, how do you get into the building?
Technically, Platt, I believe it is, because even though you can't, even though it'd be easier to get out of your car and head towards the building and hope that there's a 3 to 5 foot path walkway to get to the building instead of walking behind the van. But, you know, most parking lots, the handicap could have another handicap spot in front of it. I'll let Steve get into it also.
Are you removing 4 spots? Because the handicap regulation is 1 per 25. So technically you don't even need the second handicap spot in all reality. If you're under 25 spots. How many spots do you end up with for the whole project?
Well, if we take 4 off, we end up with 35.
There's 35 on that whole front?
Yeah, well, not for the whole property, in front of the existing building for 1275, 1278, where.
Yeah, so it's going to be striped for 35?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see, counting the spots, I didn't see 35 spots.
But can you go back to that plan for a minute? Because I'm just trying to understand something.
And would one handicap spot be figured for the construction business? So they are going to the left and to the right.
Correct.
And they both end up being on pavement. I mean, on concrete.
Right, and with the agreement to pave the front of Bobcat's building, that whole area will be paved. It'll be all concrete or pavement.
But I guess my question is if you're gonna pave that whole gravel area in front of the building now, right? Why wouldn't you pull those handicap spots off 4 feet or something to give a travel way both for foot and or for wheelchair? Do you have the space?
Well, yeah, if we get rid of the tandem spaces in the front, right? So those when they're restriped will be 20 feet closer to Bedford Street. So moving those handicap spaces down 5 feet wouldn't matter as far as access and safety.
Right, and then you'd have continuous access across the front of the building. You wouldn't have a car hitting the building and pulling right up to it. You'd have, and you could put the stops at the end of the parking spots that Mr. Geller was mentioning. They could use those stripe lines to get into that travel way across the front of the building. It just seems like a much better design.
Yep, we have no problem doing that.
Look at that. I believe you gotta put a sign at the end of each parking space also for handicap, so that sign can actually go inside not only have a car stop, but the sign can go inside a bollard.
Correct, yeah.
So the handicap, so none of those spots will go further past. But I'm fine moving it forward, Pat, if they agree to do all that.
Yep.
Right, yeah, okay. Any other board discussion? Okay, so, this is a public hearing, so if we think we've heard enough, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
By Ms. Pagano, do we have a second? By Mr. Geller?
Yep.
I'll take the roll. Ms. Pagano?
Yes.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Okay, so just, deliberation and that conversation, so Mr. O'Brien did provide us with a draft decision letter, but Mr. O'Brien, can you bring up the area that you shaded before? Is that possible?
Sure, let me go share my screen. So this is just a suggestion based on board comments, but I guess my recommendation would be, if we condition the approval that prior to the endorsement of the plans, that we would receive an updated plan showing this area be paved, as well as other subsequent comments regarding ADA accessible parking spaces, wheel stops, tire stops, signage, as well as the removal of the tandem parking to allow for only single stack parking. So that's what I got.
Mr. Jacobs, which four tandem are you proposing to remove? The ones closest to Route 18 or further away?
Well, I would think it would get the ones further away from 18, because that would be give you a wider access aisle to get in, especially where we're moving the handicap spaces down about 5 feet.
So the ones close, those four closest to the building, you're gonna remove.
Correct.
So on this, is there some sort of a stop or something before Route 18 there? You're gonna add some stops there as well?
We can, sure.
Because is there any buffer? Oh, there is a buffer.
Actually, hold on 1 second, please.
There's a landscape
There's a
area.
retaining
Pat.
wall. There's a retaining wall there now,
Right.
Chairman.
So a car can't just drive out onto Route 18, correct?
No, nope.
All right, so the conditions that we'd want to add would be that area that Mr. O'Brien showed be paved, so that's all connected. That those handicap spots be moved 5 feet off the building, be properly signed, stops, all that stuff.
Mhm.
What else am I forgetting?
Do we have to say to take out that little piece of pavement? Because that wasn't shaded on Shane's slip, or is that really best practice to pull out that little tiny to have a nice clean strip against the concrete?
Yeah, Steve, we'll show that on the plan that that's to be removed and repaved.
The whole site, both uses are gonna be restriped, identifying parking for each types. The things that don't belong with those uses will be removed, like the boats for sale and things like that, because there's no more auto or boat sales there, correct?
No, there's not. Nope.
And then storage, outside storage will be limited. Do we want to get into that to the area shown so that the whole site doesn't end up storage, or is that not something we should do, Mr. O'Brien?
No, I would say if the applicant presented it as part of their site plan, if they wanted to expand storage, I would say it would be a minor modification of our minor site plan at that point, where we
Okay.
could have a conversation. But I would say if they're showing it as that storage area, as current, we accept it as such.
All right.
Does it mean that if they're loading in a Bobcat area that, we could see a Bobcat outside that storage area? Possibly, but I don't think that's the intent of the site plan. So I feel like it's appropriate as presented.
All right, so do we have a motion? Are there anything else we'd like to add? Like, Ms. Pagone, Mr. Geller?
No, I think we covered it all.
If there's nothing else to add, Ms. Pagone, we can add something?
She's trying to get off mute.
Do you want anything? You can shake yes or no. No? Do you want to log off and log back in? We'll wait for you to make the motion.
Or I guess,
Oh, she's already gone.
I think she's resetting.
Yeah.
There
Here you go.
My apologies. I'm still having trouble with my technology.
Okay.
I don't have any other concerns or questions. At this point, I'm supportive of going forward with this.
So I guess either Steve or MJ, like to make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Hold on. So do we have a motion on the project?
Motion.
There's a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, wait a minute. So that was a motion to approve, Ms. Pagan, correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Geller was a second to approve, correct?
Correct.
And just for discussion, the motion is to approve with the conditions presented by Mr. O'Brien and the items we talked about tonight, such as paving, such as moving the handicap spots, such as restriping the whole site, removing items that don't belong with the uses, cleaning up the site in general, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything
Yeah,
else we're forgetting?
I guess the only thing we would add is just, yeah, that we would need that on an updated plan prior to endorsement.
Anything else we want to add, Mr. Geller or Ms. Pagan?
I guess, I'll modify my motion to include what Shane just said so that that is also part of the record.
All right, Mr. Geller, you okay with that?
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, so motion to approve with conditions, Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Ms. Pagan,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Shane, I'll have that plan to you probably next week.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you, guys.
Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, do you want to hold off on the minutes until everybody's here, so we can have a discussion on those?
Just in regards to, well, I want to make sure that I received a message in the chat from Mr. Don Ellis requesting the continuance to the June 26th meeting. So I just would like the board to accept the continuance to have 0 Broad Street be pushed to the June 26th meeting.
I'm glad you reminded me, I forgot all about it, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
no problems.
So do we have a motion to continue the 0 Broad Street project to the June 26th meeting?
Motion to continue, Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Pagan, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Geller? Take the roll, Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Pagan?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. O'Brien, do you want to wait on minutes? Do we have more people or no?
Well,
Are you skipping item 5?
Item 5.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm trying to get out of here, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Item 5, this is a continued discussion on the draft proposals from the CED on the active adult. So, Mr. O'Brien did provide us with an update on this. I saw the new calculations, Mr. O'Brien, that's really the major change, correct?
Yeah, so I'll share my screen just to discuss the major changes, and then I'm hoping that we proceed and then look to have this supported by a counselor. So the changes from the last version, and I also provided to the board, and it is available on the website. Wait 1 second, please. Just get rid of the echo. Alrighty. So what I did based on board comment as well as some public comment as well, some changes that I made were to decrease the building height from 3 stories to 2.5 stories. Based on the suggestions, I reduced the multiplication for the residential D from 1.5 to 1.25, as well as changing the equation that we would determine the maximum amount of units from the total developable area divided by the minimum lot size for single family to the total developable lot area square footage divided by the minimum lot area per dwelling unit of the zoning district. So what that would only affect would be the residential D district from 18,500 square feet to 10,000 square feet would be the new common denominator, as well as a simple addition on what we would define as normal maintenance. I know I did get a public comment regarding what normal maintenance is between side setbacks. That would be mowing, just keeping upkeep if there's dead shrubs, maintaining it as proper there. So just kind of defining what normal maintenance is without going into too much in depth. But those are pretty much my biggest comments. Like I shared with the board, and it's available online, I put in a format that's a little bit neater. I can pull that up quickly as well. in terms of a submittal format. Just to cover all my bases. So what it spells out is defining, it would be the creation of this new district for 8.7 purposes, definitions, land, site development, applicability procedures, design standards, buffer areas, stormwater management, homeowners association, age restriction decision, and procedure for waivers. So as presented previously, it was just 8.7.x, as well as just discussing all of the items that we've already discussed, as well as the subsections of the zoning ordinances that would change, defining what a section, different sections of definitions that would be included as part of our definitions of our zoning ordinances, as well as changing and amending some of our current definitions by taking it out of 8.6 for senior housing. So it would be taking out senior housing and senior housing facility and senior housing laws out of 8.6 and then place them in our section 11 for definitions. And then as well as all the language that would be included as part of 8.7, as well as information regarding the table of dimensional requirements. We would be changing footnote 18 from reserve to specifying the standards for 8.7, similar to what we do with open space, as well as the elderly housing district that we currently have, as well as table of use regulations. We would add a new principal use under A, dot residential uses number 14, which would be under open space and conservation development, and that it would require a special permit approval through planning board only in the residential A, B, C, D districts, and not allowed in any other districts. So that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope I addressed as many board comments as well as public comments I've received as part of this process. Like I said, we're hoping that we get this to a counselor to be placed on an agenda to discuss, and that this language could change based on future comment from the CED committee and the planning board once we have that joint meeting, hopefully sometime in the summer. So anyone that has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I think the change is a good change. I think we started off with a complex formula and then it evolved, and I think it makes sense the way you did it. You know, in residential D, you got a little bit of a bump, which I think is probably a good thing. That's closer to town. So I think it's good. I mean, I think, you know, maybe it's if the other two members are okay with it, we can kick it out of this board and kick it to a council to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that would be my request, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's gonna come back to you anyways, but we're not gonna make the June 18th meeting, but if we could get this on the agenda in July for the council to refer it back to the planning board and CD, I think that would be good.
Sounds good to me. Good job, Shane.
Yeah, Shane did a great job putting all this together, and he
Yeah.
deserves a lot of credit.
It came out good, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pagon, are you trying to say anything? Do you know what you got?
I don't have any issues. I think the changes that were made are good, and I think those will be more to the benefit of the town than the original version. So I'm actually very happy that we have this coming to the fore. So I would be totally comfortable with us allowing it out of our board and giving it to the council to make their final deliberation.
Yeah, well, it'll come back. It'll be this was a workshop, Ms. Pagon, so I think we're trying to. So hopefully when it comes back to this, we've seen it, we've made all of our major changes to it, and it goes through pretty smoother process than the typical process. So no reason we'll see it again.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that point, Pat, too, if there's any other things in the future that the board wants to workshop, I'm happy to include that in the future as well. I think this was a good, healthy discussion. And I think we can look forward to doing more of these.
Well, the tough part about once it's referred to us, never seeing it, it's a messy process, right? It just,
Oh, sure.
because once it's advertised and it's back and forth, and you make a change to the calculation, it has to be re-advertised again. So, you know, one thing I'll give Council Wood credit for, when he was a council and whenever there was a new zoning ordinance, he always encouraged a workshop, and I thought it worked out pretty well. And then we kind of got away from that. And I'm glad you brought it back, because I think it makes things, you know, smoother. We can go back and forth pretty easily, you know, until we get something that we're comfortable with, you know. And we could even, you know, in the past, we've workshopped stuff with the CBD, so.
Sure.
We could always mix that in. So thank you, Shane.
No problem.
So you want to vote to refer this to Ashton, if are you just comfortable with what we discussed?
Yeah, I would say it's fine to, if just like a informal vote of the board. I think that's appropriate.
Are we all comfortable with sending, anybody not comfortable sending this to the 2H council to support?
Nope.
Okay, so Mr. O'Brien will move forward with that step then. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Did you want, oh, I'm sorry, we want to do a vote, or doesn't? Up to you guys.
I don't think you necessarily need one. You're not taking any formal action.
All right, yeah, I just don't, yeah, all right. Well,
I mean, you know, we've all seen it. We've made our comments. We're
we'll
comfortable.
just have, I guess we'll just have the minutes reflect, yeah, the next step, so that's fine.
Now we're on to item 6. Jump the gun. Do you want to wait on those, or do you want us to vote on those, Mr. O'Brien? It's up to you.
It's up to you. I know two of you did attend the site visit for April 5th. So I'd leave it up to, if we'd want to wait for a meeting that Ted attends, that's fine. We can push it off.
Let me get it off. Let's get some stuff off the plate here.
Sure.
Okay with that, Mr. Gallen? You were there, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Gallen?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Did we have a motion to approve the April 15th site visit planning board meeting minutes?
Oh, just a correction, Pat. You said 15th is the 5th.
April 5th, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm off tonight, Jen.
It's fine.
Good motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Gallen, any discussion? Mr. Gallen?
Yes.
Mr. Gallen?
Yes.
So you all know that we do have a special meeting on June 26th. Mr. O'Brien will work on an agenda, I imagine, and get that out to us, correct?
Yeah, I'll get an agenda out to y'all. I guess I can merge into board items for the next meeting. We do have a request. We've had it for a little bit for, there's a group that has a proposal for 96 Main Street. They would like to do a short presentation for a concept plan that they have, similar to what we did for Edgewood. So what I would say is that we'd probably have a limited presentation from them lead off the meeting. And from there, we would have continued items from this meeting placed afterward. We do have.
Shane, why don't we give them from 6 to 6:30? We'll start the meeting at 6:30. We'll see if they can come at 6. Otherwise, we're gonna be here till midnight.
If you would like to start that special meeting at 6 o'clock, we can hold a vote right now to have it at 6 o'clock. The only thing that wouldn't be able to be heard until 6:30 would be
the only thing we're gonna do at 6 o'clock is that hearing.
Okay, if that's what we want to do.
They have to, I mean, I think they can do it in 30 minutes, I would hope.
Okay, well, we can do that.
I mean, I have a list of things. We have 10 things, I think, on the agenda for the 26th.
I think we may have less. From my understanding, we would have probably 6 or 7.
We have 884 South Street.
Correct.
We have 456. We went this up.
We pushed to the 17th.
We have 0 Plymouth, 815 Bedford Street.
0 Broad.
we have Zero Broad, we have the Oleari subdivision.
And then we would have a discussion about a land court issue that occurred. But that could be a very brief discussion. But yeah, the 6 or 7 items.
Is that a general conversation or is that something related to us?
It would require approval by the board. I'm working with legal counsel on what constitutes the endorsement of said thing. So it was an oversight that was done by a land court. But I'll send you guys the information as I discuss with legal counsel regarding it. It doesn't require executive session. It's just figuring out how we would proceed with the matter.
I mean, just a new subdivision have a while to get going, especially if you have abutters and things like that. Then you have
Well,
815 Bedford Street could be. Yeah, but we'll just have to set time limits or something because
I would
otherwise.
say that the benefit of that new subdivision is that the board did review a preliminary subdivision regarding that project already. So there's some familiarity with that.
All right, do you want to go with special permit standards for duplexes or do you want to push that?
I sent over some special permit standards for duplexes, considering we're the special permit granting authority for duplexes. I know that really doesn't help the project before us.
Can you
But
pull that up? Do you
yeah,
have
I
that?
can pull it up.
It's one thing if you want to talk about it, I can print it off.
Yeah, I can talk about it. Let me see if I can. So pretty much what I have is that back in our heyday, we approved special permit standards for our site plan. So rather than recreate the wheel, I took aspects of it that would be beneficial for looking at it per duplexes. So that would consist of requirements would be proposed name of, I guess, the development, but I would say more so it's just proposed location, making sure that a professional surveyor engineer did the plan, a locus plan, streets, lot area where it is within the zoning district, existing and proposed topography, typical conditions in terms of building sizes, locations, setbacks, parking areas, area of illumination, because we like to follow dark sky regulations, landscape features, and other applicable information that we may require. So
How would architecturals?
we could request you know, some elevations in architectural plans if we want to add that. You know, I wouldn't say stamped by an architect, but maybe architectural renderings. Oh, I can't spell. Architectural. I did almost win a spelling bee once. So architectural renderings we could include, that's fine.
Your spelling's good, it's your typing.
It's, you know, I didn't grow up with the iPad, so they did take typing classes back in the heyday. But yeah, in terms of adding language, I'm happy to include anything beyond what is here. But this could be a working document that we could, once we find some time, address. But yeah, I guess we can work on it, but I just wanted to send it to the board. I know we discussed it the last meeting, but I wanted to get some standards in place sooner than later. So I'll leave it up to the board for any comments or additional additions, I guess, as part of this.
All right. So we'll just move this to the next meeting, like everything
Sure,
else.
we'll just have it as a general topic.
Any board, committee, or planning reports?
You got anything new with CPEC?
No, we're just waiting. I actually, no, there's not too much new. I've been asked to sit in a meeting with Mr. Dutton and Mr. Gusconi. on the 17th to get updates. So at the next meeting, I'll be able to provide some updates.
I guess on a planner's report, if you, we do have an associate position available on the planning board. If you're aware of anyone interested, who
There's somebody being appointed, Shane. I
is
believe.
there? Don't tell us. So anyways, that's all I got for planner's report.
I'll give you the information, but as far as I know, there's somebody being appointed, I think at the next meeting.
No, whatever. Hopefully they can do a good job. All right. That's all I got.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to? We didn't do half the agenda, it's supposed to be 2 hours.
We had good conversation. We got things approved.
Oh, we also started late too.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We
We'll
can,
call.
we can get mad at Ms. Pagone for having to start late, but we can also thank her for coming so we can have the meeting, so.
My sincerest apologies this evening.
I would say, yeah, I would say both people in the public hearings appreciate your attendance.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. I'll take the roll, Ms. Pagone,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So thank you, everyone.